Welcome everyone. I'm Ruth Samalo, one of the featured programmers for Doc NYC, and it's my great pleasure to invite you to the Q&A for the film Lost in Space. And we have, straight from Germany, director Valentin Riedl, and we have cinematographer Doro Götz. Thank you so much to both of you.
Hi, welcome to New York.
Hi, and sorry, Doro, I think I also butchered your last name. Götz, is it Götz?
Götz.
Yes, okay. So, thank you to both for bringing us into the world of Carlota, this incredible artist and human being. I'm already in love with her, so anything that I can say is not enough about how, she faces life and how she deals with the world and how she uses her art to connect and to figure herself out. It's just brilliant. So tell us a little bit about how did the origin of this film happen? How did you met her? Also, Valentin, tell us a little bit about your background, because you were not a filmmaker before. You're a neuroscientist, right?
Exactly. So I'm here in my office still in a laboratory. So I do human brain imaging, human brain research. And I met the story, or I got to know the story of Carlota through an exhibition. So that was an exhibition of her art. And it said it's a drawing from a person who is face blind. And I knew that from my research, so that we have this brain area that is particularly focused on processing faces. And that seemed to be not working in her brain. But the thing that grabbed me for that film was that this deficit of a brain produces something novel and even like unique and beautiful. So art. And that was the story why I thought, let's do a film about some brain issue, but that's still connected to something new. So a piece of art.
And something that I really like about the film, it's that in a way, it gives us access to thinking about, as you describe it, as a deficiency in the brain, as perhaps not necessarily something negative, but something that opens up possibilities for your brain to give you access to the world in many different ways. And one of my favorite things in the film is when Carlota describes how, as a child, some of the teachers were asking questions, about like a box, questions to figure out, the general intelligence of children. And she will have questions of her own that were incredibly profound. Like, am I the box too? I am, like, to me, it brought me even to like quantum physics. It's like, this woman just really thinks the world in very profound, extraordinary ways that are not wrong. They're just like different approaches to how she encounters reality. So in a way, I think it's important that we have spaces to talk about brains that are not necessarily standards, not as deficient, but as different. And I think your film does that in many ways, right?
It's a topic that we deal with even in brain research now. So we always talk about a standard brain and some standard processing, but we realize by scanning more and more people that there is no real standard. So everybody is kind of unique, and we have to accept that. And she's a perfect example for just seeing the world differently, but not wrong. And it's not a deficit, it's just a different way of seeing the world. And I would say she's even more unbiased than a lot of us. So she also had a story where she didn't realize that a girl she was sitting face to face at a dinner had a dark skin, and she didn't see that kind of. So she was perfectly unbiased. Just when she grabbed the dishes and saw that the tint of her hand is different, she realized. But so she doesn't think of skin color, for example. It's not a topic for her.
And Doro, can you tell us a little bit about working with her? Because she is a visual artist and she is also a filmmaker, amongst all the incredible things that she's done. And she's very interested in all kinds of things to do with cinematography and like framing and faces. And so how did you guys have conversations with her about what you were doing? And also I wanted to commend how beautiful it is, the way that you portrayed her world, the inside of her house, like this magical cave, with like lights, and it's kind of like a fairy world in a way that contributes to us, the audience, like seeing her in that magical way. Can you tell us a little bit about the process?
Yeah, the process was also a good connection with Carlotta to talk about technician things. So we always could nerd a bit around. And she also, sometimes she didn't forgot the camera because she was so interested in the camera. So it was always a topic to go like really behind her and really, really be really loudless. And yes, and but it was a great connection because she's doing camera like a walking tripod. She's really slow and really precise with her camera stuff. And it was also really nice to talk with her about her stuff.
And
She once mentioned that Doro is kind of merging with the walls, so she's not present at all. So she never heard her breathing, she said, and she kind of like vanished inside the wall.
oh wow, I mean, some will say that's like a talent for cinematographers. So that's brilliant, incredible. And how was it working with her, like for both of you, kind of like spending, because you started this film in 2015, right, Valentin?
Yeah, roughly 4.5 years of shooting, I would say, but very loosely, like only after a few months we met for a few days, and then so very loose contact, but for a longer period of time, and that helps to build a relationship and trust, I guess.
And has she seen the film, and what does she think about it?
Yeah, so the first encounter, I told her also this experience was like, I only showed it to her when we finished. We had it finished completely, also with the animations, which was finished at a very late stage. And I didn't want to show it before to her with like empty slots. And I didn't want to discuss the content with her, but like she had to give me a lot of trust to finish the film first. But then at this evening, when I wanted to show it to her, she said to me, okay, now come here, come really close to me, sit really close to me, because I want to slap you immediately once there's something in there I don't like to see. But she immediately liked it, like from the first minute. So she knew that she wouldn't be exposed kind of as something weird or special, or but just honoring her life, and she got that immediately, I would say. And since then she's really enjoying joining us for Q&As in German festivals, because the audiences really honor her life, and she didn't expect that. For her, it's just normal how she is and how she behaved.
And you know, one of the things I love is how free she is, and how much she's figured out a pattern to live in this world in the way that she likes. Like first, like in a little bit of isolation, and you know, she loves animals, and I love how that is represented in the film. And she's worked with horses. She's worked as a projectionist, as a sailor in a boat. You know, she's been a truck driver. So she reinvents herself. Like she has this capability of starting, you know, giving herself chances to start over, which is really creative and beautiful and empowering. And I wonder, like, if this do you think being part of the film has transformed her somehow, or helped her, like, give herself like other possibilities in life?
You mean with the film now, or well, I think the film for her was another episode of her life, and she simply enjoyed it. So I think that's how she lived her life. So she always tried to enjoy it, even with all the problems she had. She has strong arthritis. That's also what you see in the film, which we never touched upon because it's not her topic, like not a topic of the film now. But it's really hard for her to handle stuff, so to grab things. But it's just as it is for her. And she says, well, I cannot do anything about it, but I don't blame anyone, and I don't blame life. I just enjoy what I have. And I think she enjoyed the time with us. So it was always very funny, no, Dora, when we met for shooting. So she was always a bit exhausted when we started, but she enjoyed every minute. And once we had to leave on the 4th day or so, she was kind of disappointed again that we already left again.
And something that is true for a lot of people that have invisible, illnesses or situations that are different in their bodies or in their brains. it's really important for them to get a diagnostic, because they realize they're not making this up, they're not weird, they have this particular, element that is happening to them, and then they can put that to rest, right? And so I think, in a way, Valentin, you being a neuroscientist, you're one of those people that give her peace. But I wanted to ask Doro, how do you, because you were observing both, not only Carlota through your lens, but also Valentin interacting with her. So you were in a vantage point looking at their relationship. Can you tell us a little bit about how that evolved, and, all the way to like allowing, the self-portrait to happen and making the portrait of Valentin, which is in a way such an intimate, beautiful moment in the film.
Yeah, it was really growing, the connection between them, because in the beginning it was like, I remember when Valentin was called me the first time, and he told me, when we go for the shooting, don't be scared, but she won't give you the handshake or something. And it was like, I think like 1 or 2 years shooting without handshakes, and it was always with the distance. And then there was one shooting night it was with the candle when she is painting, and this was really intimate, and it was really, it was a really good atmosphere there. And after that shooting day, Valentin and me, we were hugging and saying goodbye. And then she was standing there and said, "Hey, I want to have a hug too." So this was, I think it was a really big break, and the connection was like, we could get really closer to her and into her story. And it was also that sometimes we had to talk with her. So for example, sometimes she made it like a puzzle, like we always had to be, or Valentin has to be like a Sherlock Holmes and to look, okay, we have that piece of puzzle, but this story, how could it fit with that? And but so it was on both sides. There had to be a big trust that she is telling us her life and we believe her, and otherwise that she has the trust to tell us the story. So the connection was really interesting to see how they got closer and closer. And then there was a moment where we found out where she had her sweets in a box, and we were like going like children always to the box and stuff like that. So it was really getting closer and closer every time.
And Valentin, I think that, I don't know, like so many layers in this film are crucial for us to understand that other human, but also to understand how our brain works. I think there is like a layer in your film that is really, educational in the sense, not in the educational boring film sense, but also that allow us an entry point into something that is very mysterious, even for scientists. And I think your use of the animation is brilliant in that sense, because it's very abstract, but it's also, it's very scientific also. So perhaps can you tell us a little bit about how did you work with animation to get inside her brain, or in aspects of it?
Yeah, so that was kind of my development, I would say, as Doro just mentioned, that I started from a very scientific point of view, and during the shooting, the whole film idea moved to a very personal story with this scientific background. And I had initially planned to have interviews also with scientists about the brain and the deficit and so on, and it all got, I canceled them all out kind of, because it would have been too much of educational stuff. And I think people now should more experience this emotional roller coaster she had in her life. And by that, if you're then interested about the brain, you can still read things up. And animation got in there, that we started first with some kind of optical illusions to illustrate how it is, how she sees. And that's what Doro, I guess, beautifully did in the beginning, the first shot, and also in the others, where we tried to show this pattern of seeing only parts of the face and so on. But it was scientifically, it would have been always wrong, because she doesn't see like that. It's a translation for us. And that's where then animation came in, because we said in an animated world, you always accept it as it is. You don't question how that translates, kind of. You just take the world as it is, and we try to move through her brain in a more artistic way to tell more the emotions that evolved from her brain, and not so much about the neurobiological structures and how they are connected and so on. And I think it was a tool to have a more artistic freedom to explain something.
Well, I think this is all the time we have, unfortunately, but thank you so very much for making this beautiful film. And thank you so much for bringing us closer to the life of Carlota. And we will be forever in love with her and her artwork. Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.